The land of Canaan was trembling. Word had spread like wildfire. A nation once enslaved in Egypt had risen under a new leader, Joshua son of Nun, and the God was unlike any other. He was not carved from stone nor bound to a temple. He was living, powerful, and utterly devoted to his people. Jericho had fallen. Ai had burned. The stories of walls crumbling at the blast of trumpets and kings fleeing in terror had struck fear into every tribe and city-state. Armies that once boasted of the gods now whispered, "What God can stand against the God of Israel?" But not all trembled in despair. Some plotted in secrecy. Among them was a small city called Gibeon. Gibeon was clever. They saw what had happened to Jericho and Ai, and they knew resistance would only lead to destruction. But instead of war, they chose deception. They disguised themselves as weary travelers, donkeys loaded with cracked wineskins, clothes torn, bread dry and moldy, and came to Joshua's camp at Gilgal. "Make a treaty with us," they pleaded. "We have come from a distant land." Joshua and the leaders inspected their ragged belongings, questioned them, but did not seek the counsel of the Lord. Answer: they swore an oath of peace. Only later did the truth emerge. Gibeon was not from a faraway land but was their neighbor, a strong city not far from Jerusalem. The Israelites murmured in anger. "They deceived us." But Joshua kept the covenant, for an oath sworn in the name of the Lord could not be broken. Instead of destroying Gibeon, Israel made them servants, woodcutters and water carriers for the house of God. It seemed like a small incident, until the kings of Canaan heard the news. When Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, heard that Gibeon had made peace with Israel, his fury knew no bounds. Gibeon was no ordinary city. It was powerful, its men renowned as warriors, and its walls strong. If Gibeon surrendered without a fight, what hope was left for the rest? He sent messengers to 4 allies: Hoam king of Hebron, Piram king of Jarmuth, Japhia king of Lachish, Debir king of Eglon. "Come," Adonizedek urged, "let us strike Gibeon. They have betrayed us and joined Israel. If we do not crush them now, Israel will sweep through all our lands." The kings agreed, and 5 armies began to march. Their banners darkened the hills, their spears shimmered like rivers of fire, and the drums echoed across the valleys. War was coming, not against Israel, but against Gibeon. As the armies surrounded their city, the Gibeonites knew they could not stand alone. They sent an urgent plea to Joshua at Gilgal: "Do not abandon your servants. Come quickly, save us, for all the kings of the Amorites have gathered against us." Joshua's heart stirred. Though they had deceived him, he had sworn an oath before the Lord. A covenant was not to be broken. That night, the Lord spoke to Joshua: "Do not fear them. I have delivered them into your hand. Not one of them shall stand against you." Encouraged, Joshua gathered his mightiest warriors. The camp stirred under the moonlight, armor clinking, torches blazing, swords sharpened. They marched through the night, covering miles of rugged terrain, climbing hills and valleys in silence. Their enemies expected them at dawn, but Israel would arrive before sunrise. As the first rays of dawn lit the horizon, Joshua's army appeared suddenly at Gibeon's gates. The 5 kings, confident of victory, were thrown into chaos. Israel's warriors charged with a thunderous cry, their swords flashing, shields clashing. Panic spread through the Amorite ranks. The Lord himself fought for Israel. Confusion struck the enemy, their formations broke, and they fled toward the valleys of Beth Horon. But the battle was not over. As the Amorites ran, the heavens stirred. Dark clouds gathered, and from the sky, hailstones massive, deadly pelted the fleeing armies. The scripture records, more died from the hailstones than from the swords of the Israelites. The enemy was scattered, but daylight was fading. Joshua knew if night fell, the kings would escape, and the victory incomplete. Standing before the army, Joshua lifted his voice in one of the boldest prayers ever recorded. Sun, stand still over Gibeon, and moon, over the valley of Ijalon. And the unthinkable happened. The sun halted in the sky. Time itself seemed to bow before the command of a man in covenant with God. The day stretched unnaturally long, the sky frozen, as though heaven and earth had paused to witness God's power. The battle raged on, Israel pressing the advantage. With the extended daylight, they pursued their enemies relentlessly, cutting them down until none could regroup. So the Chronicles declare, there has never been a day like it before or since, a day when the Lord listened to a human being. Surely the Lord was fighting for Israel. The 5 kings, seeing their armies shattered, fled and hid in a cave at Makkedah. Word reached Joshua, who commanded, roll large stones against the mouth of the cave and set guards. We will finish the battle first. Once the fighting ended, Joshua ordered the kings brought out. His commanders placed their feet on the kings' necks, a symbolic act of victory. Joshua encouraged them, do not be afraid, be strong and courageous, for the Lord will do this to all your enemies. Then the kings were executed, hung on trees until evening, and afterward cast into the very cave where they had hidden, sealed with stones. The terror of the Lord spread across the land. City after city fell, their kings defeated, until the southern campaign was complete. The sun had stood still, and history was changed forever. The story of Gibeon is not just about war. It is about covenant, deception, and the faithfulness of God. Gibeon deceived Israel, yet Israel honored their word. 5 kings united against them, yet God fought for his people. Joshua prayed the impossible, and God answered with a miracle that defied nature itself. The lesson endures. When God fights for you, no enemy can prevail. Word spread quickly across Canaan. The kings of Jerusalem, Hebron, Jarmuth, Lachish, and Eglon, all powerful rulers of fortified cities, were furious. Not only had Joshua and Israel destroyed Jericho and Ai, but now Gibeon, one of the largest and strongest cities in the land, had betrayed the Canaanite alliance by making peace with Israel. Adoni-Zedek, king of Jerusalem, called the other kings to war. Come up to me, and help me, that we may smite Gibeon, for it hath made peace with Joshua and with the children of Israel. The 5 kings gathered their armies, mighty warriors, chariots, and well-armed soldiers. They marched together and camped against Gibeon, ready to teach them a lesson and crush Israel's growing influence. Inside Gibeon, fear spread like wildfire. The Gibeonites knew they could not withstand 5 kings and the combined armies. Desperate, they sent urgent messengers to Joshua at Gilgal. Slack not thy hand from thy servants. Come up to us quickly, and save us, and help us, for all the kings of the Amorites that dwell in the mountains are gathered together against us. The covenant they made with Israel was now being tested. Would Joshua honor the oath? Would Israel risk their lives to defend their new allies? Without hesitation, Joshua gathered his army and began the march from Gilgal to Gibeon. It was a long, uphill journey through rough terrain, but Joshua trusted the Lord. That night, the Lord spoke to him. Fear them not, for I have delivered them into thine hand. There shall not a man of them stand before thee. This divine assurance strengthened Joshua's heart. The God who had brought down Jericho's walls was with them again. Israel would not be fighting alone. Through the darkness, the Israelite army moved swiftly. Step by step, They climbed the rocky paths, their torches glowing faintly in the night. They traveled nearly 20 miles uphill, a grueling trek that tested every soldier's endurance. But their faith carried them forward. Joshua knew that speed was their weapon. If they could surprise the enemy at dawn, they would have the advantage. The soldiers marched in silence, their sandals crunching against stone, their eyes fixed on the horizon where the first light would soon appear. As the sun rose over the hills, the Amorite kings and their armies awoke to a thunder of footsteps. Joshua and Israel had arrived suddenly, catching them off guard. Panic broke out among the enemy ranks. Before they could fully organize, Israel charged with full force. The Lord threw the enemy into confusion, and the Israelites struck them down at Gibeon. The Amorites fled, running down the slopes toward Beth-horon. But the battle was not over. The chase had only begun. As the enemy fled, the sky darkened. Thunder rumbled. Then, from the heavens, came a storm unlike any other. Massive hailstones rained down upon the Amorite armies. The stones smashed chariots, struck warriors, and scattered horses. The Bible records that more men died from the hailstones than from Israel's swords. It was as though heaven itself was fighting for Israel.